All right, I think we're just about ready to get started here. Um, if you are having some issues, we do have Ben in the room here, and Ben should be able to help you out. To give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the Outlook 2013 productivity tips, and really these are just a bunch of tips that I've kind of gathered over the years. Um, we uh, we all use Outlook or some sort of mail system, and 10 years ago, I might have got 2 or 3 pieces of email a day. Um, now, uh, and because I teach all the time, I, I have a difficult time catching up with email sometimes. I'm in a classroom, so it's not as if I can respond to people. It's not as if I can put my class on hold and start checking my email. I cannot hear you speaking. Any reason for it? I think Anna. Uh, Sa- oh, you know what? I can't even pronounce her last name. Anna begins with a C. Looks like she's having trouble hearing me right now. So I'm just going to get Anna to speak to you, Ben. And even though I have the ball, for some reason I can't answer Anna's question. So I'll have to figure that out. All right. To continue. So a lot of these tips are just things that I've learned, and with my limited time, these are tips and tricks that I've kind of put together uh, that really do help me out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and that way you'll be able to see everything that I'm doing here. So I'm just going to share my application here. Perfect. All right. This is my Outlook, but this is not the way that Outlook looks by default. So let me change a few things. First of all, usually what you have is a reading pane on the right that shows up. That reading pane on the right, this shows you your email that you've clicked on. So I can click on different bits of email, and it gives you an auto preview. That's great if you got like 1 or 2 pieces of mail coming in a day, but you miss a lot when you're looking at the preview. There's a whole bunch of things in your toolbar that you're missing. See, when you open a piece of mail, you got a lot more you can play with. Specifically, I got a button called OneNote, and hands down, that is my absolute favorite program on the planet. I always tell people that Outlook is how I manage my time. OneNote is how I manage my information. I also use assigned policy as well. So there's a few different features that are hidden and aren't there. So the first thing that I do, I change my view. I don't use the reading pane. I like the concept of it, but I don't actually use it. It also gets your columns back too and gets you a ton of screen space back. That reading pane takes up quite a bit of space. The other thing that I turn on, the to-do bar. I like the to-do bar for the calendar, and I like the to-do bar for the tasks. I actually use my tasks. In fact, I use all of Outlook. But I really like the idea that this is a one-stop shop for me. This shows me that I have nothing else scheduled for today. Not exactly true, but nothing in my calendar. Underneath that are the different things that I have flagged. Now you'll notice that I can see the first few lines of every single message. And the reason that I can is because of the view that I use. See, the view that you're used to, or at least the default view, is a compact view. The view that I like to use is called a preview. The preview allows me to use what's called message preview and allows me to see the first 3 lines of every single message. So I don't have to open my email. Now, it's a good idea that I do open it and be able to interact with it. But if I just want to glance through my inbox and figure out if it's important, figure out if it's something that I got to get back to them right now, it's easy. I can scroll through my inbox and very, very quickly read and figure out which emails are important and which emails can wait for later. So I like the view. You may want to consider adding and removing different columns that you use. So if you use subject, if you use received, if you use the size, definitely keep them. If you don't use them, pull them out. You're not using them. You might as well put something in there that you should. If you do want to add a extra column, like one of the ones that I usually add here is CC. I usually add CC and I put it just underneath just underneath from. So I can use the move button here. Move it up, put it underneath from, and now I know who else was CC'd. That also will change my response, at least my response time. You know, you CC my boss, you see my my CEO, Mia. Yeah, you're going to get a very, very different response from me. I'll kind of get on that. So, set your inbox up to the way that you work. Add columns that would benefit you. Take a look at the message preview. Take a look at trying it. The other thing that I do, I check this off. Show as conversations. Now, the first time I saw that was in Gmail. And the first time I saw it, I got the concept, but I just didn't like the execution. I still don't in Gmail. It's horrible. Here it actually works. In Gmail, not so much. I find there's a lot of issues with it. But here, this allows me to keep all my conversations together. So if there's a whole lot of back and forth, I'll see that back and forth. For instance, let me see if I got somewhere I went back and forth a lot on. Let's see. Here's one. The amount of time that you waste going through your inbox looking for different things is just incredible. You know, somebody sends you an email and they send you a response to the email. Of course, that response goes to the top. But their original email, the one that they originally sent you, it's somewhere in your list somewhere. So when you're going back and forth, all that back and forth is scattered throughout your inbox. When you show them as conversations, what it does is it takes the subject and it groups all your email by subject. So this way, I can fold out the entire conversation and see the entire conversation. If I click on it again, I even see the stuff that I sent. So in one conversation, I literally see all the back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. This is all the same subject. I don't have to go looking for these things, even though some of this stuff is sitting in my sent items. You can't be wasting time looking for things. You got to be able to put your finger on things very, very quickly. And that's why I like another feature. I love the show as conversations. I think it's terrific. It's great. I don't lose email anymore, and I don't have to look for your email that you sent me 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months ago. It's all packaged. It's all contained. It's perfect. But I can click on a flag for something that's really important. When I click on a flag for something that's important, marks it for today. So I got to get it done for today. Now, if it isn't today, I can right-click on the flag and say I got to get this done next week. No date in sight, or I could set a custom date. I also love the fact that I can also send myself a reminder. Quite often, I keep different email in my inbox that I need to respond to later, or email in my inbox that I may need at a later date. So rather than go fishing through my inbox, it's almost like a little bookmark. I add a flag. I can add the flag, and I can also add a reminder. So at a certain date, at a certain time, I get a reminder that pops up. So that's just a couple, all inside view. I changed my view to a preview. I changed the message preview so I can see 3 lines. I lose the reading pane. It takes up way too much space and is not as useful as being able to see a preview of all my messages. I love the idea of the to-do bar. If I do have an appointment, the appointment will show up today. And of course, I have a list of all the different things that I have to do. If it is something that I've marked and it's something that I've given a flag to, say like this one, goes on my list, and when I'm finished, I can click on the flag. When you click on the flag, it puts a check mark beside it. So as I'm going through my inbox, this lets me know what I've responded to and what I haven't responded to. So the different things that are important, they're checked off, and I know that I've taken care of them. You have lots of ways of rearranging your inbox, and that's completely up to you. The way that my inbox is arranged is by the date received. But you may want to change it to from, you may want to change it to subject. That's completely up to you. The other little thing that you can play with inside here is a few more are these quick steps. These quick steps allow you to do multiple steps very, very quickly. For instance, to create a new quick step, you have a button at the end of this little list, so I can scroll down, and I can create a brand new quick step. You give the quick step a name, and then you decide, what's the quick step going to do? So I could create a quick step that creates a new message and creates a new message to my boss. I have different options that I can use. So I can add a CC, I can add a BCC. I can even add a permanent subject line. I could add a flag, I could set importance, even a text. So it's almost like a form letter. The other thing I can do is add another action. So I can add an additional action so that when you send a message, something else can happen too. I could send a message and I could set a retention policy or categorize the message or flag it. I could also create a brand new meeting. So not only does it send a message to my boss, but it also creates an invitation to a meeting as well. You might think it's kind of funny, but this is actually quite useful. I can also add additional people here too. So this could be my team. This is the project team. And rather than me constantly have to create a brand new email, type in everybody's name, or type in a distribution list, it's a button. If I want to email the project team, I hit a button and their names are already there. I can fill out the subject, fill out the body of the message, hit send, and away it goes. But I've got lots. You know, if there's a bunch of people on an email, yeah, I'll pick on this one. If there's a bunch of people on an email, then I can click on the email and create a brand new meeting with these people. It grabs all the people that are on the email and adds them to my meeting. So I don't have to add the people manually myself. I have a button to send stuff to my manager. I have a team email. I can reply and delete the original message. And of course, I can create new Quicksteps. So these Quicksteps make you a lot quicker, a lot faster, rather than constantly having to fill things out and constantly having to click on buttons and fill things out. Another big one that really helps you out to stay organized is your rules. Rules are like automatic actions. It's almost like programming your inbox. There's certain email that you get that you do the same thing over and over again with them. So rather than do the same thing over and over again with that email, you can automate it. An email that has to be printed, an email that has to be forwarded off to a certain team or a certain group of people. These are some of the different things that you can do. To give you an idea, I can create a new rule. Now, it tries to be helpful and tries to use the email that was there. So whenever I get something from a certain person, or if the subject line is exactly like this, or if it's sent to a certain person, then I can do all these different things. Display an alert, play a sound, move it to a folder. Think about it. There's different email that you get that you could automate things. Have it go to a specific folder. If you want to see more options, which you most likely will, you want to click on Advanced Options. When I click on Advanced Options, these are the conditions that the email has to meet. It's marked as important. It's sent only to me. Specific words in the body, in the header, in the address. Marked with a certain category, has a certain size, or it's an automatic reply like a out-of-office reply. Could be something like an RSS feed. So you select one. You say, yeah, everything that comes from this person, and then I hit Next. Do this with it. Assign it a category. Move it to a certain folder. Have it printed, forwarded to a certain person. I can even reply using a very specific template. Now, when you check off some of these things, anything underlined down below is what you can change. So you can choose a different name. You can choose a different template. And I can click on a template, choose a different mail template to respond with. or I can have the server reply with a specific message. So every time this person sends me an email, this is the message that they're going to get. And I fill out the message. But I can say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to flag it. Anything from this person, I'll flag it for tomorrow. I hit next, and if there is any exceptions, I can set those exceptions up. Except if it's important, except if it's marked with a certain sensitivity, if it has certain words in the body or the subject, anything at all. If there are no exceptions, I hit next. If I have existing messages that I would like to apply this to, I can run it in the inbox now. Or, if I don't check that off, from this point forward, any messages from this person will be flagged with reply tomorrow. When I hit finish, it lets me know that, look, this rule will only run when you check your email. In other words, this is what they call a client-only rule. So this only runs in your machine, which is fine. It'll run as soon as you open up Outlook and make the adjustments. At some point, if you wish to change the rule, you can head to Rules. Inside Rules is Manage Rules and Alerts. And this is where you can manage it. These are all of my different rules. There are certain things that I have signed up for, like Solar Winds and Spiceworks and Porter Airlines, with the best intention of reading these things. Unfortunately, most days, they clutter up my inbox. So I have different rules that automatically move those email messages to a specific folder that I have. It's a folder for newsletters. So any newsletters that I've signed up for goes in my newsletter folder. And then when I do have time, I can check my email, either from my handheld or I can check my email from my desktop and find all my newsletters and read them whenever I have time. If there are different rules that I do want to get rid of, I'll have to click on the rule and hit delete. When I hit delete, that's it. Takes the rule out, and it will no longer process the email from that person and flag it. So that's it. The rule's finished. When I click OK, I come right back to my inbox. There really isn't a whole lot in send and receive for me, to be honest. However, the next tab over is folder. In folder, there is some things that I do use here. I don't like to create new folders. I only create new folders for kind of permanent things. But I do use search folders. Search folders are a lot easier to use than a regular folder. With a regular folder, you'll have to take the email and drag it and drop it into a folder. That takes time. Instead, I use a search folder. So for instance, if I am looking for all of the email that I have from Alex, all I have to do is click on Alex's name. When I do that, it does a fresh search through my inbox. Any message that Alex has sent me, Alex has been CC'd on, that automatically shows up in my inbox. So as you can see, I didn't have to drag this in here. I didn't have to drag this in here. I didn't have to do anything with this. All the mail that I mark for follow-up. At some point, I might lose it in my inbox, just with all the messages and all the things that I get sent. So if I want to see all the messages that I have flagged for follow-up, all I have to do is click on follow-up. It searches my inbox and looks for any flags at any time that I've checked off and said, yeah, I want to follow up on this. I have another one here for Robin. I have another one here for Sandra. And as you can see, it even shows my linked conversations. So when I chat with different people, it grabs my conversations too. I'll go back to my inbox here. Perfect. When I go back to my inbox, there are a few other things that, additional things that I can use that makes my life easier, like creating policies. I can set a policy for the folder. I can add a retention policy. This connects into my Office 365 account, and I can use any of the policies that have been set up by our administrator and apply those retention policies to the folder. This way, I'm not manually having to delete things. The same feature is found when you open a piece of mail. When I open a piece of mail, if I know that I'm not going to need this thing in a month, I can say, yeah, in 1 month, delete this thing. And then this item will expire in 29 days. Automating your inbox, automating some of your searching and some of your deleting really saves you a ton of time. It's too hard to miss something in an inbox by scrolling up and scrolling down. To create a new search folder, you have a button for it. On the Folder tab, there's a button called New Search Folder. And this is where I can create a new search folder for unread mail, stuff for follow-up, important email, specific people sent direct to me, large email, old email, email that has attachments. I'll choose the mail with attachments. I'll click OK. And then it creates a search folder. That search folder is now going through my inbox, looking for all my mail that has all my different attachments. So once again, I don't have to resort my inbox. I don't have to manually look for anything. But with that said, you do have a search feature. You can search your inbox if I click into my search that's here. I can search for attachments and all kinds of different categories that I can use. Whether it was sent to a certain person, whether it was unread. And when I click on more, there's all kinds of different properties that you can look for. If you've already searched for it before, you can go to your recent search, and I also have a set of search tools as well. But you can only do so much with search, and that's why I like search folders. With the search folders, it has all the same power, except it's permanent. So I can find stuff that's older than 6 months. I can find stuff that's older than 12 months. I can find my missed conversations that I've had. Let me go to File for a bit. I'm sure that you've seen this before, but you go to File. This is where your automatic replies are. So I can get in here and I can set a date. Tell it only to send it during this time, or love the idea of inside and outside the organization, but did you realize that you can also create rules? I can add different rules so that when email comes in and I'm not in the office, I can set up a rule that every single time my out of office is on, You send email to this person. You CC this person. I can alert and perform all kinds of different actions. So I can say, yeah, you got to forward it to this person. Email comes in the inbox, and that's it. It gets forwarded off. I won't actually create a rule here, so I'll just hit cancel. But you get the idea. So this is a lot more than just an out-of-office reply. If there are specific people and you've been waiting for an email from that person, you can set up a rule, and that way they get a different message, or their email gets handled differently and gets forwarded off to somebody that can deal with it right away. The other reason that I brought you here, if I hit cancel here, I'll just get out of this. The other reason that I brought you here was for the mailbox cleanup. See, with the mailbox cleanup, I wasn't too sure about this thing. I did a lot of testing to make sure that it did exactly what it was going to do. But when you come here, you can view your mailbox size. Now, this comes to a shock to a lot of users, but when you click on mailbox size, your calendar, your contacts, just about everything is considered your mailbox. So this shows me the stuff that is sitting locally, and this shows me the stuff that's sitting on the server. There'll be two different sizes. Some other cleanup tools that you have is find things that are older than 90 days. Auto archiving helps as well if you use an archive. So all that can be found on your cleaning tools. Rules and alerts are here too. And there's some other stuff, but not terribly helpful most of the time. So I'll go back to my inbox. The other thing that I use that really helps me out with my inbox is a button. A single button. It's called OneNote. And I use OneNote for all my information. If you haven't been using OneNote, you may want to start. It's a great way to store your information. It's a great way to find information and index it. It's a great way to share information too. But if this email is really that important and I want to keep it and not lose it, then I can make notes about it. I can click on OneNote. Should have opened it first. My OneNote's actually quite large. But I can click on OneNote, and then it bugs me and says, look, where do you want to save this information? I have different books that I can use. So I can say, yeah, put it in Greg's notebook, or I can say, no, actually it's part of some stuff that I was doing with Heidi. So I can say, yeah, put it in Heidi's section here. I click OK. It takes the email, opens up OneNote, and drops it right into OneNote. All the links, everything. All the information gets copied over, put into OneNote in my notebook so I can keep this forever. So those are just a handful of the different things that you can do that really helps you manage your inbox. Part of management, too, is your calendar. I do have a calendar that I can use and take a look at what I have scheduled. And, of course, that's in your email as well. If you have an email and you want to invite everybody to a meeting, there's a button for it. You don't have to type out their names and redo that. So by putting stuff in your calendar, you're letting people know exactly what you're doing. When I go into my calendar, I can share my calendar out. I got a button to share it. I could publish it online. And if I want to give you a little bit more than just read access, I have a button for my calendar permissions. If you use Link at work like we do, you can even create new Skype meetings or Link meetings. If I click on New Link Meeting or Skype Meeting, this creates a Skype meeting. All they have to do is click on Join Skype Meeting. There's even meeting options that I can use to disable instant messaging and mute the attendees and even block their video, plus some other things that I can play with too. I'll close my meeting. Contacts, no different. With contacts, I can create a brand new contact or a new contact group, but if I open a contact, these are all the different things, all the information that I have about the person. I can add a phone number, an instant messaging address, a birth date. If Alex has an additional email address, I can click on the plus and add another email address. Person's notes are there. Phone number, instant messaging. You can add all kinds of extra information. Once I add the extra information, I've got contact and notes, the organization, all kinds of neat stuff. If I need to make changes to the contact, I can click on Edit and make my changes again. I'll hit Save down at the bottom. Actually, there we go. But this also helps. You have a button on the end, and I can link it to contacts. And because I'm using Link, I can tag for status alert changes. So if Alex is busy and he becomes free, then I can contact Alex. The other thing that I can do is I can click on Alex's name, and I can make notes. When I click on Alex's name, there's a button for OneNote. Once again, I can make notes here. Now, I've already made notes for Alex, and that's why it took me here. Here's the notes that I made beforehand. If I want to take a look at his contact information, I got a button for it. So I got a button that opens up the contact, and I got a button that takes me back to OneNote. I'll go back to my email here. Back in my email, there's another button that helps me out as far as cleaning things up, and that's Clean Up. I can clean up a conversation, a whole folder, and subfolders, and what it does is it cleans up the threads. See, if I take an email here, a couple of emails. Well, if I take a look at the last email that was sent to me, all the information that was in this email is already here. So when I choose Clean Up, this cleans up all my conversations. Any redundant messages are moved to my junk mail. When I hit Clean Up, it goes through my entire inbox and removes any of those duplicate messages. Not a bad feature. And I don't have to worry about what I said to the person because, of course, that's included in here too. So all the back and forth should be included in the last message. And if it isn't, it won't delete it. So if there are discrepancies, it leaves it alone. And one last button. one last button here. I wasn't too sure about this button, but it's called Ignore. And sometimes you get a conversation, or you get in on a conversation that's got nothing to do with you. So you know that it's not going to have anything to do with you in the future, the past, or the present. So you can click on something and ignore an entire thread. So if there are responses, if there are replies all, any of that stuff, this ignores the entire conversation. Kind of handy if you've been added to a thread that's got nothing to do with you. I'm not sure if that's happened to you before, but I've had it happen to me a few times. I'll hit cancel, and I'll get out of there. So a bit of a recap. The first thing that I do when I open up Outlook for the first time, I head to View, and I change all my settings. Change all my view settings. I show things as conversations. I change my view to a preview, and I change my message preview so that it shows every 3 lines. I can add and remove columns in my my inbox, and you should. This is your inbox. If there's things that you don't use, pull them out. I turned off my reading pane and turned on my to-do bar. The people pane is interesting. It shows you a list of different people that you contact all the time. The other thing I did is I went to folders. In folders, I can create new search folders. New search folders allow me to find things without actually looking for them. And they're permanent. Well, they can be at least. You save them. So this way I'm not dragging email into file folders. Instead, I use the search folders to find everything that I need. Putting a policy on a folder is helpful too, if your company uses policies. And auto-archiving allows me to keep messages but pull them off the server. Back at the Home tab, I also showed you how Quicksteps work. You can create new Quicksteps, but the idea is that Quicksteps just make you a little bit faster so you're not clicking as many times or having to fill things out like people's names. Rules help automate your inbox. This way, I'm not constantly manually moving email around in my inbox and dragging them into folders. Instead, I can automate the whole thing. If there are any important emails, I can always click on OneNote and have that email sent to OneNote where I can make further comments or keep the information forever and in an organized fashion. The cleanup button cleans up your conversations. So it gets rid of all that back and forth and back and forth. You can clean up a conversation, you can clean up a whole folder, you can even clean up the subfolders too. And when you accidentally get added to an email that has absolutely nothing to do with you, you can ignore the entire thread. And then it just goes to junk. Any questions about anything that we've covered today? No questions? And Christina says, I have OneNote, but I don't see it in my Outlook ribbon. Is it an add-in? Yes, it is. You might need to go to File, head to Options. Oops, let me share my screen out. Sorry about that. 1 second. 1 second. And there we go. You should see it now. So yeah, I go to File. I can head to Options. And when I head to Options on the left-hand side is Add-ins. There's your add-in, OneNote add-in. It is a COM add-in, so you'll have to go down to Manage COM add-ins. You'll have to click on Go, and you'll have to check it off. Now, if it's already checked off, uncheck it, click OK, restart Outlook, come back in, check it off again, and that should fix it. 2003 is a little bit quirky. I've noticed that some of the add-ins actually uninstall themselves, even though they're checked off. Sometimes the next time you open the program up, some of the add-ins are not checked off anymore. I mean, well, they're checked off, but they're not installed, so you got to uncheck them and check them again. But that should fix it. Any other questions? Yes. When you open up OneNote, it bugs you that OneNote has to be set up. Yeah, you do have to set up OneNote, and that is a much longer conversation. But yeah, if you haven't played with the program before, definitely take a look at OneNote. It's definitely one of my favorite programs. I use it every single day. I use it all the time. In fact, I was just using it a few minutes ago. And yeah, if it's not working on your computer, you're going to have to talk to your IT people. That, unfortunately, I can't help you out with. OneNote is a free product, so there's no excuse. It's part of every Office package. Even if you don't have Office, OneNote is a free product that's available for download for every single operating system I can think of. So if you do have a phone, whether it's Apple or Android, except for BlackBerry, you can download OneNote for your phone. You can download it for home work purposes, but it is a free product. So if you haven't tried it, take a look at it. It's pretty neat. Any other questions at all? All right. As long as there's no other questions. Thank you very much for coming out to today's webinar. I really appreciate you guys coming out, and hopefully I get to see some of you guys in a class sometime. Who knows? Maybe a OneNote class. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, everyone.